And that's good, and I'll explain why in a little bit. But before we get into sales objections, we have to first understand what is a sale. We don't understand what a sale is, and we don't really know what an objection really is about. So, give me some thoughts on what you believe a sale is in your mind or your industry. Who wants to start? Just give me something.
It's an emotional response to a product.
An emotional response to a product. I saw another hand go up in the back.
I would say probably a commitment on both parts to do business together.
Okay, good.
I'll go one further than that. It's not only a commitment, it's also once you've been paid and then once you've delivered the goods or services.
Okay, that would be the completing of the contract side of it.
Yeah.
The acceptance of something.
The acceptance of something. Okay, I like what I'm hearing, and I really like the first one because the emotional part is really important in a sale. Now, how many people have bought things on emotion? Come on, raise your hands. Okay, we've all done it, right?
Yeah.
Versus how many people really bought on need? That's it. One, two, right? But more times than not, we want to buy based on emotion. We love it, we like it. I don't know if I'll use it, but it looks so good on the wall. I'll wear the winter coat once in November in Las Vegas, but I'm going to buy it anyway. Okay? But if we combine all of that, this is my definition of a sale from all, and a lot of what I'm going to refer to, guys, I spent nearly 6 years selling timeshare. Don't hold that against me. I'm still here to talk about it, but you can make really good money when the economy was great, or you can lose your hair like I did when the economy tanked, so take your choice. So for me, as was said here by Tony, it's a transfer of emotion. There has to be that transfer because whether it's need or want, both of them contain emotion, okay? But when we sit down and talk to somebody, especially in what we do, if the person you're sitting across doesn't need your product, will you have a sale? No. The chances are greater or not as great. They can happen, yes, if you show enough value. But generally speaking, if someone doesn't have a need for something, it's a lot tougher to get that sale. Because when you create that need, you're now providing the solution for that need. In timeshare, you know what? People didn't realize that they needed to vacation. So I had to paint a picture how important vacation was. And always the person would say to me, well, I don't vacation a whole lot. Well, what are you doing in Vegas? I'm not sitting at your kitchen table talking about vacations. So obviously there's a need for something. But if I have created that need, I'm also going to create the solution for that need. And that's what we sell, is the solution. That's when a sale will be completed. Okay? So it's a little bit of everything everybody said. Now, I personally sit down when I talk with somebody about advertising or doing a show, I do what's called a needs analysis. I spend at least 15 to 30 minutes just getting to know the person, what they expect out of our conversation, what they expect out of my product, so I get a sense of what it is that I need to present to them. Everybody in the sales process will tell you how to sell them if you ask the right questions. Now in timeshare, how many people know where the Grandview property is next to the South Point, way down on the other side? That's where I used to sell. Now invariably, I would talk to somebody who loves golf. And I could talk about all the hundreds of golf courses in this town. But every once in a while, I'd get that tennis enthusiast. Would I talk about golf to that person? No, because it's not what they need. It's not what they want. I'm going to have to sell them what the person wants, thereby going back to this definition. All right. So how do we prep for handling objections in our industry and what it is that we talk about? This is something called feel, felt, found. Now, I realize that we're all professionals, we're all business owners, we're involved in big business, and many of you may have already gone through sales trainings, and some of this you may have touched on. So a lot of this may just be a refresher, and if it is, I appreciate your due diligence. I hope you take some, because I believe in going back to basics periodically, because we forget sometimes more than we actually learn over the course of time. So first we want to empathize with the customer that we're going to sit down with, and I'm going to give you the perfect timeshare scenario. How many people have been on the timeshare tour? Okay, a couple of people? Okay. Did you plan on buying timeshare? Did you buy? No. And I know you guys did because I've asked this question before. As the sales guy, I used to paint a picture that went something like this. I would tell people that I own timeshare, which for the record I do not. But I used to tell people I did. Why? Because I'm selling a product, I have to have that, hate to say it this way, believability. So I used to tell people, you know, my wife and I went on vacation 20 some odd years ago before my kids were born, and we were on vacation for the first time really as a married couple. And next thing I know, she signs us up for this thing that would spend about 90 to 120 minutes, but we'd get these great show tickets, okay? Now, I would tell my wife at that point, well, if the show tickets are that important to you, fine, but I'm not buying anything. So now I would turn to my guests at the timeshare table and I would say, does that sound familiar so far? And they're starting to laugh because they have that almost exact same conversation. Therefore, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I know how you feel about being here. Okay? However, I felt that as long as I was with that presenter, that it would probably be a good idea if maybe I just at least listened to something the 90 minutes that I was there. Now picture this if you will, and I have to do this visually. I would sit across from the table and invariably the husband or the wife would sit across, and let's say Michael is me, and I'm the timeshare tour. See, no, come on, you're perfect. See, I would come into the table and try to engage them. But how many times you sit across from somebody who sits last? See, you did before I did, right? Yeah. They're away from the table, arms are crossed, and they disengage before you've even said hello. So here's what I used to tell them. I would say, sir, ma'am, I have no problem with you being here. You're not interested in buying. That's way cool. I'm just going to practice. But I will tell you that 9 out of every 10 people who cross their arms in front of me and sit 3 feet from the table, they end up buying. Man, you should see how fast those arms went down. And they would come into the table, okay? So it's okay to call the bluff. There's nothing wrong with it. Because you and I know what the real end game is, and that is, let's face it, a sale is a dance. Nobody wants to be sold. Everybody wants to feel like they're buying. And we're just after one thing, that's the credit card, or the check, or the cash. But I found that if I allowed my mind to open up and actually listen to what my timeshare presenter told me that day 20 some odd years ago, I actually found that it was something I had to consider because, see, I have twin daughters. And I'd be a family of 4 traveling. And I did my calculation with my rep that day called Anyway Dollars. And I was going to spend like $500,000 on vacations and have nothing to show for it. And that's kind of when my mind opened up and I started buying. So you see, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I know exactly how you feel. I felt the same way, but I found out if I listened, I'd learn something. And today, the best thing I ever did was own my timeshare for me and my family, because I've never missed a vacation. So if you set yourself up early and empathize, what does that do with you with your relationship with your potential customer? Put you on the same plane. You've gotten rid of the adversarial position. You've gotten rid of potentially animosity. Now, are you going to break everybody that way? No. We used to have this in timeshare. They came in with the pact. The blood pact, that no matter what you say, they're going to not buy. So every once in a while, I'd call them, I'd say, can I see your arm? And I'd look at the arm and I'd say, well, there's no scars there for the blood pact, so I guess we're okay to talk today, right? See, and that's the reaction I would get all the time. It's okay, but you're empathizing because now you've put yourself on that same plane to get away with something like that. Does that make sense? Feel, felt, found? Okay. Tip number 1. Who knows your product better than you? Nobody. Nobody. So would it be safe to say that you would know just about every objection someone can throw at you during your process? Yeah. I can't go in and sell insurance. Well, I used to be able to. I used to have a license, but that was moons ago. But I can't go in and do what he does. But he can. And I guarantee you when he sits down in front of every client, we're in the mortgage business, you're going to anticipate and know what obstacles everybody's already thrown at you from all your previous sales opportunities. You're going to be prepared again. Be prepared with your anticipation and counter-object. It's okay to say, you know what? I know how you feel. Again, go back to feel, felt, and found. Because why? We're back in that emotion. Okay? And be ready. It's okay to object to something early in the process. Some salespeople wait to the very end, and by that point, the emotion is lost off that question from 30 minutes ago. But it's okay to to address it right then and there. Now, is it always good to address every objection at the moment it's brought up? Not necessarily. Now, I want you to picture this, if you will. Yeah, my credit card doesn't mean anything. We used to have something in timeshare called laydowns, where no matter what you said, customer came in with a credit card attached to their forehead, ready to buy. Right? Wouldn't that be nice if we had that every day? Right? No matter what you say, you can't talk them out of the sale. They're there to buy. It'd be nice. But the reality is that's not the case. So we have to be prepared, and knowing how to handle your objections is part of your toolbox. Can a plumber go out and do his thing without a wrench? No. He's got to have everything in the toolbox. So it's okay to either address the objection, or if you know that your material you're going to go over will come up a little later, to take care of that objection, make note of it. You know what? I'll get to that in a few minutes. I don't want to jump ahead. Is that okay with you if we do that? Sure, no problem. But you don't forget the question or the objection. Write it down, it's okay. Not a problem. Number 2, never rush your response to an objection. Stop and reflect. Why is this important? Who wants to take a guess?
Make sure you completely understand
Oh, wow.
the question.
There's a reason God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? That's to do what? Listen twice as much as we speak. So isn't it helpful when we hear an objection, we come back and say, look, Nicole, let me make sure I understand your objection complete. You like the sun, even though we're here in December right now. How many months of the year is important to you? Am I right in understanding that? How many warm days you're going to have?
Yes.
Okay. So what it does is it's letting them know you are listening. Is that not important in the sales process? Okay. Number 3, as I just said, repeat back your objection. It lets them know you're in tune. Now, here's a nice thing about questions. What do questions say to you as a presenter?
That they're interested.
They're interested, they're listening. We used to call them buying signals. Anybody hear that phrase? Now, can you get false buying signals? All the time, folks. Of course you can. But at least they're engaged to some degree in what you're presenting, because you never know what you're going to say that's going to turn them from a non-buyer to a buyer. Okay? Number 5, depending upon your relationship with your guest or who you're talking to, call them out on the question. I used to love car salesmen when they would come on the timeshare tour, because I would tell them right out of the box. First of all, not only did I tour people, I was also the closer, you know, the guy who comes over to try to get the credit cards. And the most fun I had was with car lot guys. And I would tell them straight up, I am not running to my finance guy 12 times to earn your business like you do in your industry. I'm going to give you the best price I have today, and guess what? It's only good for when? Right now. Okay? So I used to call them on all the excuses that I knew were going to come up. It's okay to do that, but it's good to do it if you feel comfortable enough to do it. Sometimes you're better off just facing those objections when they come, because maybe you're dealing with a customer that is more comfortable being known as Mr. or Mrs. Smith than John and Jane. And let's face it, that's a different level of communication, right? Okay? But it's okay to call them out on it. We used to have a saying in timeshare that if you got 10 no's, 10, during your timeshare presentation, you're in good shape. Because after all, how many yeses do you need? One. Is it better for someone to say yes, 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 yes all the way through, and then at the end you ask for the money and they go, no? How terrible. Boy, I would almost said a bad word. I'm glad I just looked and sort of reminded me your daughter's here. So I'd rather go through a presentation and have somebody go, no, 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 and get all the no's out of the way, or the objections, so I get to that one yes that I need. Because that's all it takes is one yes. Timeshare, if we sold 1 tour out of every 10, that's a lot of rejection. You were considered in the Timeshare Hall of Fame. It's 1 sale out of 10 a week. That's it. So we handled a lot of objections. We had a lot of no's we had to get through before we got to the yeses that made the difference in us getting paid or not. But just know that objections are part of the game, guys. That's what you have to accept. See, I tend to get ahead of myself on my slides sometimes. Again, they're part of the sale. If you go through an hour, I mean, I've done it. I've gone through presentations, 90 minutes, 120 minutes, where my guest is just, and I'm trying every joke I can, everything out of the box. I'm telling them my name was Dr. Phil in timeshare. I got into timeshare at the time. Phil McGraw became popular because of Oprah. So I used to tell people I had a PhD in vacationology. I would help people with their vacations. I was a consultant. I mean, I would try everything, but you know what? There are just some people. And every once in a while, they surprise the daylights out of you. And they would actually buy because they're actually processing everything that you're saying. I wish that was more often than not. I'd probably still be in timeshare. But anyway, that's a whole other story. So it's okay. Sales objections are good. Listen carefully to them because they hold the valuable clues to getting that deal. Ask the right questions and you will get a sale. Here's one thing that I'm going to hold off on while food is here. Go ahead. When we get down to presenting our offer, and this has happened to us and happened to me as a consumer, do we sometimes get confused when the person's trying to give you the close and to get your money because you don't understand what you're buying? Has that ever happened to anybody? Okay? If it hasn't happened to you, you've been awfully lucky. But I've got to tell you, when you get down to the sale, KISS, we all know what that stands for. If you don't, keep it simple, silly. Keep it simple. Nobody is going to buy unless they understand what they're buying. And Denise Michaels' phrase, who's an author, and many of you know who Denise Michaels is, a confused mind always says no. I've done it. If I don't understand what I'm buying, I'm not putting over the money. I have to clearly understand what it is and why it is I'm giving my $5, my $10, whatever it is, totally. Does that make sense? So when you get down to that offer, keep it clean, keep it simple. When I talk to somebody about advertising, I have 6 plans. But I've already spent 45 minutes to an hour understanding what they need. And quite frankly, I just put it on the table like a Chinese menu. Select from option A, B, C, or D, whatever works best for you. And my options are very clear. Cost, the number of spots that they get during a designated time, and what days those spots are going to run. Simple. 3 things for somebody to understand what they're going to get. Okay? Oh, and the average cost. I have an average cost of $4 to $6 for a commercial. Not enough piques enough interest, but it's clear and it's clean. Because if people don't get it, they're not going to buy. Confused mind always says no.
Street tacos? And I got 20 tacos.
Guys, I've done this in timeshare where I've sat in front of people that have never said a word past hello, how are you? Wouldn't selling be boring? I sort of say that tongue-in-cheek. If the people across from you did not give you some objections to tell you they're engaged, for you to learn your craft better, to file away all those answers in the back of your mind for the next person, the thing that you have to, and I'm going to keep repeating it, understand that objections are part of the sales process. And if you get no objections and the person or client still buys, consider yourself lucky. It will happen. You'll get that one-time close that you walk away saying, man, that was too easy. What did I do wrong? And yet you know you did everything right, but you just hit that home run where the person had the need, you gave them the reason to, you gave them the resolution to their need, you gave them an offer, that was what they were looking for, and the deal went down. In timeshare, if you got 1 out of every 500 of those, you're lucky. Okay? Any questions, thoughts, comments? Any scenarios you're going through that you'd like to kind of run by as like a little brainstorm session on how to handle an objection in your industry? No? Okay. Well, I thank you for your attention. I hope you got it.
Yeah, one of the things that I've learned is that sometimes things sound like objections, but they're really just complaints.
It's a great point.
Where what you really need to do is just acknowledge that. Like when somebody says, wow, that's really expensive. That doesn't mean that I can't afford it.
Correct. Great point.
But it means,
value for the product.
Correct.
and all you need to do is just say, agree. I totally understand.
You know what?
Absolutely, it's a point.
A complaint is a different style of objection. That's all that it is. It's because the bottom line is people can throw, and again, I learned this in timeshare the hard way. People can throw every objection at you, including the kitchen sink, but the bottom line is it comes down to one important thing. Can they afford it, and do they want it bad enough to still buy it? Because if you sell on value, Heather, then the complaint of money should go away, the complaint of cost. We should all be selling on value. What is your consumer getting for the money that they are taking out of their pocket? That is the key question. If the value is there, and you've given them the solution to that need, again, I'm sounding repetitive for a reason, then there's going to be no complaints about cost. You've sold them on value, and you're going to get that sale, no matter what the sale is.
I kind of learned that from a previous sales course that I did as well, is that, you know, for example, I mean, a paid party is not a complicated thing, but private parties, you know, it's a cost per person, there's a cost of food at the restaurant, so people start saying, oh, this is costing a little bit per person, and I used to be straight up, oh, this is the price, you know, and instead I start talking to them and, you know, start going through what they want out of their event, how many people they're thinking of, do they want this type of restaurant, that type, and then by the time they've sort of gone through everything that they need and want, and I can help them with, oh, we use that restaurant for that, if you don't want to pay that much per drink or whatever, we'll go to that restaurant. Oh wow, she can help me with everything I want. Then I only start saying to them, okay, so it sounds like I can help you, it sounds like you're happy. Now I can send you through the paperwork, and then we can chat about the
Because
cost
what
of
you
it or
did is
whatever.
what I said at the beginning, you did a needs analysis with this
That's
person.
it, yes.
Don't make the mistake of starting to sell your customer at hello.
Yes, that's what
You're
I
not going to get a deal if you start selling, hi, how you doing? You need some advertising? Huh?
Yeah, and it's $6 an hour or
Yeah, really.
you know, a minute or whatever.
Just like in networking. We network because we build on those relationships. People learn, like, trust. That's when people are going to buy.
Yep.
But you did a needs analysis. You found out what was important, what the ROI, return on investment
Exactly, and
is for
got
the
them
person.
away from that worry about cost per person, you know?
But this is what you're going to get. You're going to, and again, it goes back to value. If you're not selling on value, and you're just selling on what I used to call shock and awe, you're not going to have a long-time customer. You won't get referrals.
What do you mean by shock and awe?
Just like she said, if I came up to you, Ruth, and I said, hi, my name is Aaron, I sell advertising. Guess what? My advertising averages $6 a cost, and I get you 120 spots to... I'm not getting to know you. I'm not getting to see if that is something that, number one, even fits. So by shock and awe, you're just kind of, well, again, I hate to say this while everybody's eating, we call it in timeshare, puking on the table. We just spout out information for the sake of spouting information.
You might immediately start thinking about, oh no, I don't want to pay $6 a minute or whatever
Right.
it is. Because we're thinking about the price.
That's one of the reasons I encourage the visitations and the meeting, because you're getting to know that person. Because most of us have many benefits to our products or services, but by doing a one-on-one visitation, you know which one of those benefits are going to benefit that person.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I had a client, she tells me all the time, I haven't seen her in about a year, and she hasn't been coming in because she says my prices are too high.
Okay.
Right, so I'm sitting there thinking about this all the time. She drives a Mercedes. I'm like, obviously she's not like that, because I know her, so I'm like, she can't be concerned on price. Like, it really can't be.
She's not seeing the value.
She's not seeing the value of my service, but when I present her with the 12 massage package that gets her a better deal, which is $660, she's like, yeah, that's the one I want to do.
You see? Right.
You know, she doesn't want to pay $60 for one massage, but she'll pay $660 for 10.
Because in
She
that,
perceives that as value.
correct,
Well,
because we can't
And you're
question.
getting a discount.
Yeah, but how
Right, we
many
don't know
people?
what the other person perceives as value, so sometimes you have to show the other options.
Yeah.
And they will pick out what to them is of value.
Yeah, move up.
Okay.
You know, she won't buy the $60 option because it doesn't solve her problem.
Correct.
Yeah.
But she'll buy the
But she'll buy the
$660.
$660 because for her, that full package for 12 massages is where the value is for her. Sometimes we can question the logic a potential customer is going to employ in a sales process. And sometimes it makes sense, other times you get the deal, and later on when they're gone, you just kind of shake your head and say, boy, I don't understand why they did that one, but hey, they became a customer.
I'm like, why didn't I offer that to her like a year ago?
See, but you can't do that to yourself.
Yeah, no.
See, that's the worst thing you can do is beat yourself up
No, I'm
in
just
any
glad.
way. Bottom line is, at that moment was the right time to present her. There'd been no guarantee a year ago that she would have done it then.
True.
You brought it up at the time it was meant to come up to get her business at that level. So we just take it and run. So,
What it does show is when a customer's complaining about price, it's not always to think, oh, they want cheaper, cheaper, cheaper.
Right.
What they're wanting is value.
Perceived
for them.
value.
So
Correct.
showing them other packages that are more pricey sometimes is they need to just see the options.
Correct.
That's what they need.
Right.
Well, doing that is,
I have a very good example of that, you know, mortgages or rates,
Right.
right?